All right, guys, Josh B. Craft here. Let's talk about a 2mm shift that is probably not what you expect. Hopefully when I say this comes off right. This is going to fall more into the personal development side of thinking than it will business, but I promise you this affects everything you do in your life. There's something that I realized a long time ago, and it's kind of a sad realization. It's a cultural thing, I think. And it's basically that I don't perceive, I could be wrong here, but I don't perceive that a lot of people feel true, undeniable amounts of love in a given day, right? Like a lot of us talk about those as moments in time, and then it's kind of like the normal hustle and bustle of things, right? And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with how anybody chooses to live. I'm not here to judge any of that. But I will say that like not having measurable, perceived, like undeniable moments of love on some daily basis does feel like at the very least a missed opportunity, if not a tragedy, right? And so the answer, like the question rather, becomes how do you go about doing that, right? Like, don't we have to find these things that we fall in love with? Isn't that a big part of what life is about, is like find your passions and your loves and lean into them and let them feed you the same way that you feed them, and all of this kind of stuff, right? And it's like, sure, those are real things that happen in real world situations. However, just because that's how it tends to happen doesn't mean that's the only way it can happen. And I don't think it's the only way that it should happen. You see, because love at the end of the day, whether we trick ourselves into believing something different or not, it's a choice that we make. We decide who we fall in love with. We decide what we fall in love with. Now, certainly there are some things that you're just not going to care about connecting to as much as other things. But one thing, if you want to, that I think we can all just play around with connecting to, and the people that I know that do this have wildly different lives, I'll tell you. And every time I implement this, I see massive changes in my life. And it's simply falling in love with the idea of love, right? Because it's not about what you love, it's about that you love, right? And the way that you experience love is that you impart it on the world rather than extract it from the world, right? And I know that's counterintuitive, but if you talk to any psychologist, you go to a Tony Robbins event, like any of those things, you're going to have that explained in pretty specific ways, right? Now, that doesn't mean that there's not such a thing as love coming back to you that you do get from the world, but it really comes as a result of you imparting it on the world, and therefore imparting it on yourself, right? So what does that mean? Like sit and fall into an ooey gooey love space with yourself? Yes. Like, I can't think of one argument why that's not a simple shift habit that you could do every single day that would absolutely lift your mood, that would take you to a different place, that you'd find yourself in a more grateful place. You'd be able to understand in better ways the reasoning for the love, right? Like, how bad is life really? We get to, we have these amazing things are everywhere, right? We've got plastic bottles that we carry around water as sustenance. That's pretty mundane for us, right? But it's also a freaking miracle that we're able to just go get these portable plastic containers to carry our water. And it's like, fine, if you don't want to fall in love with that idea, look at the fact that we have shingles, right? Imagine a house without shingles. You want to know the value of something? Make it disappear. Imagine the world without drywall, right? When you start imagining the world this way, you can start to see that it's actually a very lovely place, right? No matter all of the darkness that we can perceive and all the things we can see that are wrong and all the complaining we can do, we live really fantastic lives. We live better than any king we've ever read about in history, right? Like, significantly better. Even the Egyptians, right? Even if you're the poorest person in America right now, you can walk in with a couple of dollars and buy a banana that doesn't come from this country, right? Like, there's wild things that we're able to accomplish that is what we call everyday life. And it's a lot easier to appreciate those things when you're in a state of love, when you're in a state of joy and gratitude and these variations of the state of love, right? my point here is that we can take 10 minutes a day. Do it before you go to bed. Do it when you wake up in the morning. That's when I do it the most, is those 2 times. But also stop and do it through the day and just go, man, I can connect with this idea of love. And if you believe in God and you're religious in any way, like, think of the very fact that God created any of this. There has to be some semblance of love there to have done it, right? To put your attention on it. Putting your attention on something is a form of love, right? It's a form of actual infatuation, right? At a small level. It's not actually being infatuated, but when your attention is on something, you are putting it there because you care about putting your attention on something. So put it on this idea of just love in general. Fall in love with love. Fall in love with the fact that you exist. Fall in love with the idea that we have all of these amazing things around us all the time. And it doesn't matter if you have somebody special in your life. If you have them, fall in love with them every day, over and over again, right? If you don't, there's plenty of other people, there's plenty of other things, and there's plenty of other reasons to not sit there avoiding what is arguably, some people will discuss this in a very strange way, like, love isn't going to change it. Like, we got real problems, Josh, right? Like, I get it, but I promise you, love opens you up to the resources to be able to change those things, unlike any other thing that you experience mentally, emotionally, physically. It's just my belief. Take it for what it is, but that's my 2mm shift. Find a reason to fall in love with something every day. Experience those moments, and I guarantee you'll notice a change in things very quickly. We'll talk to you later on the next 2mm shift. I can't do that cheesy, like, sign off cable news guy thing. I gotta come up with something better.